All right, hello again, everybody that may or may not be tuning in. I don't know. I mentioned that sometimes we wire tool sheds and we wire the barns that we make. So I'll just go over the stuff that I carry quick for that, and I'll show you a little tool that I made that I'm kind of happy with and that I use. And so here we go. I keep just the regular straight blade razor knife that you saw before. It's the same one. I use the same bags. I don't have different bags to do different things. I take some of the stuff out of there and I put other stuff in. I have one of these 6-in-1 screwdrivers, and these here are also nut drivers. I think it's a 1/4 inch and a 5/16. And you got a couple of oh, and this thing too. So you obviously you got on both ends. You got the screwdrivers, and these turn over, and they're flatheads. And I think this is, I think that's 5/16. That's 1/4 inch. That worked out well. And this here is 3/8, I think. But you can use them as nut drivers. I sometimes, when I'm taking apart washing machines and dryers and things, instead of bringing all the sockets, I can usually get by with just this. Moving over, I don't usually carry strippers. I carry linesman's pliers. These are they're not expensive. They probably, I think they even came in a set, but I use them and they work good for me. I just, you just kind of just barely close it on the wire, and then you spin them, and that's how, and then you can pull the sheathing off. This is what these are the linesmans that I use. I also, when I'm tying off rebar which happens infrequently, but it does occasionally happen, I'll use these. I also have a pair of needle nose in here that I keep mainly to make bends in the wire and that kind of stuff, but sometimes it's nice to be able to reach in and grab something, pull it out. Down here I have a hot stick, or a voltage sniffer, whatever you want to call it. Volt alert. You turn it on and it beeps when there's live power. The extent of what I'm doing is wiring light switches, wiring sockets, wiring lights, pulling Romex up into the bottom of the tool shed. This is actually a piece of an electrician's fish tape, and what you do is you'll make a hook on the end of one of the wires, the neutral wire in the Romex, the neutral or the ground or whatever wire you want, and you hook it over that and you tape it. And I'm usually only pulling about 16, 17, maybe 20 inches of wire to get it into the shed, and then it goes off of everything. And this is perfect because we just drill a hole in the floor. You punch this down. Either the guy who's outside ties it on there, or you go out and do it, and then you pull it in, and it goes quick. And that's the extent of the fish tape that I ever used, because, like I said, I'm not an electrician, and everything I'm doing is just under my boss's supervision. So I've got that, and after we get everything wired, I have one of these. You plug it into each of the outlets, and it tells you if you did it right or not. It's nice because it's quick and it'll tell you. And of course, I've got the electrical tape in there that's always in there. I usually, the hammer that I carry, it's a toss-up whether it's going to be the wooden handle or the metal one. It doesn't really matter. It's just whichever one I have, I'll throw in there. I keep a big. You saw me reach the wrong way. That was funny. I keep a big beater screwdriver to be able to do the knockouts in the back of electrical boxes, and sometimes you got to pry. Actually, looks like I probably opened a paint can with this too. All of this stuff has multiple uses. Like, it's not just dedicated to doing electrical. I use these tools have all worked on cars. They've done carpentry work, they've done electrical work. I use them for everything. This was actually my father's. It was in one of his toolboxes, so it's got honest use from him and some honest use from me. This screwdriver and the one that I showed you the other day, the big Craftsman one, I've taken tires off of rims with them. And finally, just I think that's about it. Marking stuff and a tape measure, because it's nice to, the same tape measure. It's nice to have a tape measure when you're doing electrical. You need to measure stuff. And as a bonus thing, this is something that I made. I went to Tractor Supply, and I found an eye bolt that fits into the adjustment bolt for a pair of their cheapy vice grips. And what I like to do with this is, say you're roofing a shed, you're doing the roof plywood on a shed, and there's nobody to hand it up to you. What I'll do is I'll adjust it so that it grabs the roof plywood, and then I keep little tie downs on my truck, little pieces of rope. I'll put that in there, and then you can either just pull it up off the ground, or you can throw it over your shoulder and pull it up that way, and walk up a ladder with it. It makes a pair of vice grips a lot more useful. You can do a lot more with them. The Amish have a trick where they make a loop in the rope and they'll put it through the jaws and then they'll bite onto something. That works too. I just did this because when I was a firefighter, I saw this online and I always thought it was a cool idea. Firefighters will use it, and they'll put a piece of webbing and a carabiner, and that's how they'll hold on to a lock when another guy is trying to cut it with the K12 saw. It's the circular saw. It's the chainsaw with the big circular saw blade, the demo saw. But yeah, this is something that I made, and I find it useful because a pair of vice grips is always useful. But when you add this, it just makes it that much more useful. And the hardest part about getting this tool was explaining, because I walked over to the hardware aisle, which was right next to where the vice grips were being sold, and I found a little eye bolt that fit, and to make sure it fit, I took the little adjustment bolt out and screwed that in, and I said, well, why am I going to take them apart? So the hardest part was explaining to the cashier that, yep, I'm buying this, and there's a price tag for that, and I'm buying this, and there's a price tag for that. But I mean, it wasn't a big deal. She figured it out. It's not like she was stupid. But yeah, it's I find it very useful. It's also nice. You can wrap electrician's tape or duct tape or something. You can put some kind of tape around there and soften those jaws, and it's nice for pulling up, like if you're doing metal roofing. You can have a guy on the ground, and you send that down to him with a rope, and he clamps it on the metal roofing or the roof plywood or any kind of sheet good that you need to get up or you need to move. These work good for that. It's a nice tool for that. But yeah, that's just a quick... that's the stuff that I use for electrical, and this is a little thing that I made to make my life a little bit easier. Again, I'm not an electrician, and everything that I do, my boss is doing all the complicated stuff, and it's like I said, it's putting in sockets, it's putting in lights and light switches. He does all the big breaker boxes and sub panels and all that. But yeah, I hope you learned something from this. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope wherever you are, you're comfortable and that God is with you. Thank you.